I never thought I would be standing in front of my storage unit at Riverside Estates in Phoenix, Arizona, staring at the mangled remains of my padlock with a growing sense of dread that would soon turn into white-hot fury. My name is Zachary Irving, and I had just gotten back from a 2-week business trip to Seattle when I decided to swing by the storage units before heading home. I needed to grab my belt sander for a project I was planning to start that weekend. The Phoenix heat was already brutal at 9 in the morning, and I was looking forward to getting home, taking a shower, and sleeping in my own bed for the first time in what felt like forever. But the moment I turned the corner and saw my storage unit, I knew something was terribly wrong. The heavy-duty padlock I had installed just 3 weeks ago was gone, replaced by the twisted metal remnants of what looked like it had been cut with bolt cutters. The shackle was still hanging from one side of the latch, but the main body of the lock was nowhere to be seen. My heart started pounding as I grabbed the handle and lifted the rolling door. The screech of metal on metal echoed through the quiet storage area, and what I saw inside made my stomach drop. My perfectly organized storage unit, where I kept thousands of dollars worth of professional-grade tools for my contracting business, looked like a tornado had torn through it. Boxes were knocked over, my tool chest drawers were hanging open, and most importantly, several of my most expensive tools were simply gone. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what I was seeing. My Milwaukee cordless drill set, worth about $800, gone. My DeWalt table saw that I had saved up for months to buy, gone. My pneumatic nail gun set, gone. My Festool track saw system that had cost me over $1,000, gone. I did a quick mental calculation and realized I was looking at somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000 in missing equipment. The rage started building in my chest, but I forced myself to take a deep breath and think logically. First thing I needed to do was call the police and file a report. Second thing was to check if there were any security cameras in the area. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. The police arrived about 30 minutes later. 2 officers, a younger guy who looked fresh out of the academy and an older woman who had the weathered look of someone who had seen it all. They took my statement, photographed the damaged lock and the interior of my storage unit, and asked me for a list of the missing items. "Do you have any enemies, Mr. Irving?" The older officer, whose badge read Officer Martinez, asked me. "No more than the average person," I said. "I run a contracting business, so I have had some unhappy clients here and there, but nobody who would do something like this." "What about your HOA?" the younger officer asked. "Any issues there?" I hesitated. The truth was, I had been having problems with the HOA president, a woman named Donna Patterson, for the past few months. It had started when she sent me a violation notice because my trash cans were visible from the street on a non-collection day. Never mind that it was because the collection truck had missed my house, and I had left them out hoping they would come back. Then there was the issue with my lawn being a 1/4 inch too tall according to her measurements. And most recently, she had sent me a nastogram about having a work van parked in my driveway overnight, which was apparently against some obscure rule buried in page 47 of the HOA bylaws. But surely Donna would not do something like this. She was annoying and petty, sure, but breaking into someone's storage unit and stealing thousands of dollars in tools, that seemed like a bridge too far, even for her. I have had some minor disputes with the HOA president, I admitted. But nothing that would lead to something like this. Officer Martinez wrote something down in her notebook. "We will look into it. In the meantime, do you know if there are any security cameras in this area?" "I was about to check on that," I said. "Good. If you find any footage, let us know immediately. We will file this report and be in touch if we find anything." After the police left, I walked around the storage unit area looking for cameras. Riverside Estates was a fairly upscale community, and I knew they had cameras at the main entrance and throughout the common areas. The storage units were considered part of the common area, so there had to be cameras somewhere. I finally spotted one mounted on a pole near the corner of the storage building. It was pointed in a direction that should have captured at least part of my unit. A small surge of hope went through me. If there was footage, maybe I could identify who did this. I headed straight to the HOA office, which was located in the clubhouse near the community pool. The office was open from 9 to 5 on weekdays, and according to my watch, it was now just past 11. I pushed through the glass door and felt the blast of air conditioning hit my sweaty face. The office manager, a nice older gentleman named Robert, looked up from his computer and gave me a friendly smile. "Zachary, what can I do for you?" "Someone broke into my storage unit and stole several $1,000s worth of my tools," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "There is a security camera near the units and I need to see the footage from the past 2 weeks." Robert's face fell. "Oh no, that is terrible. I am so sorry that happened to you. Let me get Donna. She handles all security footage requests." My heart sank. Of course it would be Donna. Robert picked up the phone and made a quick call, and less than a minute later, Donna Patterson came sweeping into the office from the back room. Donna was exactly what you would picture when you heard the term HOA Karen. She was in her early 50s, with the kind of blonde highlights that looked expensive but somehow still artificial. She always dressed like she was about to attend a country club luncheon, even though we lived in a middle-class subdivision in Phoenix. Today, she was wearing white capri pants and a coral blouse with some kind of nautical pattern on it. Her makeup was applied with the precision of someone who spent an hour in front of a mirror every morning, and her lips were pressed into a thin line of perpetual disapproval. "Mr. Irving," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "Robert tells me you have had some trouble with your storage unit. Someone broke into it and stole thousands of dollars worth of my professional tools," I said. "I have already filed a police report, and now I need to see the security footage from the camera near the storage units. The police will want to see it too." Something flickered across Donna's face. It was subtle, but I caught it. A moment of what looked like panic, quickly masked by her usual imperious expression. "I am afraid that is not possible," she said. "What do you mean it is not possible? There is a camera right there. I saw it." "The security system has been having technical difficulties," Donna said smoothly. "We have not had working cameras for the past 3 weeks. The board has been in discussions with our security vendor about getting it fixed." I stared at her, trying to process this information. 3 weeks? The cameras have been down for exactly 3 weeks. That is correct. And when were you planning to inform the residents about this? We pay HOA dues that are supposed to cover security. Donna's expression hardened. We are not required to inform residents about every single maintenance issue, Mr. Irving. The board is handling the situation. I want to verify this with Robert, I said, looking past her to the office manager. Robert looked uncomfortable, glancing between me and Donna. I am not really involved with the security system. That is all handled by Donna and the board. So you cannot confirm that the cameras have been down for 3 weeks? I really do not know, Zachary. I just manage the office administration. I looked back at Donna, and my suspicion was growing by the second. The timing was too convenient. The cameras just happened to be down during the exact period when someone broke into my storage unit. I want this in writing, I said. I want a written statement from the board confirming that the security cameras have been non-functional for 3 weeks, and I want documentation showing when the problem was reported to the security vendor and what steps are being taken to fix it. Donna's jaw tightened. I do not appreciate your tone, Mr. Irving, and I do not have to provide you with anything. The board operates according to Arizona HOA law, and we are not required to share internal maintenance communications with individual residents. Actually, Arizona law requires HOAs to maintain proper records and make them available to homeowners upon request, I said. I had dealt with enough HOA nonsense over the years to know at least some of my rights. I am formally requesting documentation about the security system failure. You have 10 business days to provide it. Fine, Donna snapped. Is there anything else? Yes, I want the contact information for the security vendor so I can verify this directly with them. Absolutely not. That is proprietary board information. Then I will file a formal complaint with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. They oversee HOA compliance, and I am pretty sure they will be interested to hear that our security systems have been down for 3 weeks without resident notification. Donna's face was turning red now, and I could see a vein pulsing in her temple. You do whatever you feel you need to do, Mr. Irving, but I would be very careful about making accusations or causing trouble for the board. We have the authority to fine residents for behavior that disrupts the community, and I would hate to see your account accumulate additional fees on top of your already outstanding violations. What outstanding violations? I asked. You were parked on the street last night when you arrived home. Overnight street parking is prohibited. I got home at 8:30 p.m. and I moved my car into my driveway by 9. That is not overnight parking. The rule states no street parking between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. You were in violation for 30 minutes. That is a $50 fine. I could not believe what I was hearing. I had just been robbed of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. The HOA security system that I paid for with my dues had mysteriously failed during the exact time period of the theft. And now, this woman was hitting me with a parking fine for 30 minutes of street parking while I unloaded my car. You know what, Donna? Fine me. Add it to my account. I will be filing a complaint about the security system failure, and the police will be following up on my burglary report. I am sure they will be very interested in the camera situation. I turned and walked out of the office before I said something I would regret. My hands were shaking with anger as I got back in my truck. I sat there for a moment, trying to calm down and think clearly. Something was not right about this whole situation. Donna's reaction had been off. The timing of the camera failure was too convenient. And the way she had looked when I first mentioned needing to see the footage, that flash of panic, it stuck in my mind. I pulled out my phone and called Officer Martinez. She answered on the 3rd ring. Officer Martinez, this is Zachary Irving. I just spoke with the HOA about the security cameras near my storage unit. What did they say? The HOA president, Donna Patterson, claims the cameras have been non-functional for 3 weeks, but something about her reaction seemed off. She was very defensive and refused to provide documentation. That is interesting, Officer Martinez said. Let me look into it from our end. Sometimes we can get information that residents cannot. I will give you a call back. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat in my truck and tried to figure out my next move. I needed those tools for work. I had jobs lined up starting next week, and some of the stolen equipment was essential. I was going to have to rent tools in the short term and file an insurance claim, which would probably raise my rates. But beyond the practical concerns, I was angry. Someone had violated my property, stolen my belongings, and I was determined to find out who. I spent the rest of the day making phone calls. I called my insurance company and started the claims process. I called the tool rental place and reserved what I would need for my upcoming jobs. I called my clients and explained that I might have some delays due to an equipment theft. Everyone was understanding, but I could hear the concern in their voices. In the contracting business, reliability was everything, and this theft was threatening my reputation. That evening, I was sitting on my couch with a beer, feeling sorry for myself when my phone rang. It was Officer Martinez. "Mr. Irving, I have some interesting news." I contacted the security company that services Riverside Estates. According to their records, the camera system has been functioning normally. There have been no reported outages or service calls for the past 6 months. I sat up straight. So Donna lied to me. It would appear so. I have requested the footage directly from the security company. The HOA president cannot refuse to provide it to law enforcement as part of an active investigation. I should have it by tomorrow morning. I will review it and give you a call. Thank you, officer. I really appreciate this. Just doing my job. If someone is lying about security footage in connection with a theft, that is a red flag. I will be in touch. I went to bed that night with a mixture of anger and anticipation. If Donna had lied about the cameras, what else was she lying about? And why? The next morning I was up early, too anxious to sleep in. I made coffee and tried to distract myself with work emails, but I could not focus. Finally, around 10 a.m., my phone rang. It was Officer Martinez. "Mr. Irving, you need to come down to the police station. There is something you need to see." My heart started pounding. "Did you find who did it? Just come down to the station. I will explain everything when you get here." I threw on clothes and drove to the Phoenix Police Department's South Mountain Precinct, which served our area. Officer Martinez met me in the lobby and led me back to a small conference room. There was a laptop set up on the table with the screen paused on what looked like security footage. "Mr. Irving, before I show you this, I need to confirm a few things. You stated that you left for your business trip on the morning of May 1st and returned on the morning of May 15th. Is that correct?" "Yes, that is right." "And your storage unit lock was intact when you left?" "Absolutely." I remember checking it because I had stored some expensive equipment in there before I left. Officer Martinez nodded and turned the laptop toward me. "This footage is from May 3rd at 2:15 p.m. Watch carefully." She hit play, and I watched as the grainy black and white footage showed the storage unit area. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then a figure came into frame, walking purposefully toward my storage unit. The person was wearing jeans, a long-sleeved shirt despite the Phoenix heat, sunglasses, and a baseball cap pulled low. But even with the attempted disguise, I recognized her immediately. It was Donna Patterson. I watched in disbelief as she looked around, clearly checking if anyone was watching, then pulled out a pair of bolt cutters from a bag she was carrying. She positioned the bolt cutters on my lock, and with what looked like considerable effort, cut through it. The lock fell to the ground and she opened my storage unit door. "Keep watching," Officer Martinez said quietly. Donna disappeared into my storage unit for several minutes. Then she came back out, carrying my Milwaukee drill set. She walked off camera, presumably to her car, then returned a few minutes later. She made 4 trips in total, each time carrying out pieces of my expensive equipment. On her last trip, she closed the storage unit door and walked away. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The HOA president, the woman who was supposed to be serving the community, had stolen thousands of dollars worth of my tools. "There is more," Officer Martinez said. She fast-forwarded the footage to May 7th. Again, Donna appeared on camera, this time going into a different storage unit 2 doors down from mine. She used the same MO, cutting the lock with bolt cutters and removing items from inside. "We have contacted the owner of that unit," Officer Martinez said. "He is on vacation in Europe right now, but confirmed that he kept lawn equipment and other items in there. We believe she has been systematically robbing storage units." "But why?" I asked, still trying to process what I had seen. "She lives in the same neighborhood. She drives a new Lexus. Why would she need to steal tools? We are looking into that. Sometimes people have financial problems that are not visible on the surface. Sometimes it is about power and control. We will know more once we investigate further. But right now, I need you to look at this footage and confirm that the items she is carrying out are yours." I watched the footage again, this time focusing on what Donna was carrying. "That is definitely my Milwaukee drill set in the red case. That is my DeWalt table saw. That is my Festool track saw in the green case. And that looks like my pneumatic nail gun set in that bag. Can you provide serial numbers for these items? I have records for most of them. I keep purchase receipts and register my tools for warranty purposes." "Good. Send those to me. We are going to get a warrant for her house to search for your property." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we arrest her for burglary and theft. Given that the value exceeds several $1,000s, this is a Class 4 felony in Arizona. She is looking at potential prison time if convicted." I sat back in my chair, trying to absorb all of this. A part of me felt vindicated. I had known something was off about her story, but another part of me was just stunned. This was a woman who had appointed herself the moral authority of the neighborhood, who sent violation notices for trash cans and lawn height, and who acted like she was better than everyone else. And she was a common thief. "There is one more thing," Officer Martinez said. "The footage shows her coming back one more time after her initial thefts. She pulled up footage from May 14th, just yesterday. Donna appeared on camera again, but this time she was not carrying bolt cutters or removing items. Instead, she was doing something to the camera itself. The footage showed her reaching up toward the camera, and then suddenly the angle shifted and the view became partially obscured. She tried to reposition the camera so it would not capture that section of storage units anymore," Officer Martinez explained. "She probably realized she had been taking a risk and wanted to cover her tracks, but she did not realize that we would still have all the previous footage stored on the server. So when she told me the cameras had been down for 3 weeks, she was lying. She knew exactly what she had done and was trying to prevent you from seeing the footage. That is why I take this case very seriously, Mr. Irving. This was not just theft. This was a person in a position of trust and authority within the community who abused that position and then tried to cover it up." Officer Martinez stood up. "We are going to execute the search warrant this afternoon. I will keep you informed of what we find. In the meantime, send me those serial numbers and any other documentation you have about your stolen property." I left the police station in a daze. I could not wait to tell someone about this, but I also knew I needed to be careful. If word got out before the arrest happened, Donna might try to get rid of the evidence. I spent the afternoon compiling all my purchase receipts and warranty registrations. I had been pretty good about keeping records, and I was able to provide serial numbers for all but one of the stolen items. I sent everything to Officer Martinez in a detailed email. Around 5 p.m., my phone rang. It was Officer Martinez again. "We executed the search warrant at Donna Patterson's house. We found most of your tools in her garage, along with property belonging to 2 other residents. She has been arrested and charged with 3 counts of burglary, 3 counts of theft, and 1 count of tampering with evidence. She is being processed right now at the station. Did she say why she did it? I asked. She is not talking. She has lawyered up. But we did find some other interesting things during the search. It looks like she might have been selling some stolen property online. We found listings on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for items that match descriptions of things stolen from other storage units over the past few months. We are expanding the investigation. So I was not her first victim. Not even close, we think. We are going through HOA records to see if there were other reported break-ins that she might have covered up or dismissed. Can I get my tools back? They are evidence right now, but once we have documented everything and your ownership is confirmed through the serial numbers, you should be able to get them back within a few days. I will make sure it happens as quickly as possible since you need them for work. Thank you, officer. I really appreciate everything you have done. Just glad we caught her. People like that give HOAs a bad name, though honestly, HOAs do not need much help with that. I could not help but laugh. Even cops hated HOAs. That evening I got a call from Robert at the HOA office. He sounded shaken. Zachary, I just heard about Donna. I cannot believe it. The board is meeting tomorrow for an emergency session. This is just terrible. How did you find out? I asked. The police came to the office to collect HOA records. They told me what happened. I feel sick about it. And I feel terrible that I did not know what she was doing. It is not your fault, Robert. She was covering her tracks pretty well. Still, I should have noticed something. Anyway, the board wants to meet with you. They want to apologize and figure out what we can do to make this right. I appreciate that. When is the meeting? Tomorrow at 7 p.m. at the clubhouse. I hope you can make it. I agreed to attend, though honestly I was not sure what the board could say or do at this point. The damage was done. The next day, I got a call from Officer Martinez letting me know that I could pick up my tools. Apparently, the serial numbers had matched perfectly, and the detective assigned to the case had approved the release of my property. I went down to the police station and was reunited with my stolen equipment. Everything was there, and as far as I could tell, nothing was damaged. That evening, I went to the emergency HOA board meeting. The clubhouse was packed. Apparently, word had spread through the neighborhood about Donna's arrest, and everyone wanted to know what was going on. The board president, a man named Harold Chen, who was actually a reasonable guy, called the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. As many of you have heard, our HOA president, Donna Patterson, was arrested yesterday on charges related to theft from resident storage units. The board was completely unaware of her criminal activities, and we are shocked and appalled by her behavior. There was murmuring throughout the room. Harold continued. We want to assure all residents that we are cooperating fully with the police investigation. We are also conducting our own internal review to determine if there were any other irregularities during Donna's tenure as president. Additionally, we are immediately implementing new security measures, including upgrading our camera system and changing all locks and access codes that Donna had access to. Someone in the back raised their hand. Who is going to run the HOA now? I will be serving as interim president, Harold said. We will hold a special election within 60 days to fill the position permanently. Another person spoke up. How many people did she steal from? Harold looked uncomfortable. Based on what the police have told us, we believe she may have stolen from at least 6 different storage units over the past 4 months. We are reaching out to all residents who have storage units to check if anything is missing. The meeting went on for about an hour with residents asking questions and expressing their anger and concern. Harold handled it well, remaining calm and transparent. When he asked if there was anything else, I raised my hand. Yes, Zachary, Harold said, gesturing to me. I just want to say that I appreciate the board's response to this situation. But I also think we need to talk about the culture that allowed this to happen. Donna had consolidated a lot of power and authority, and she used that to bully residents and avoid accountability. I think we need to implement better checks and balances to make sure something like this cannot happen again. There was applause around the room. Harold nodded. You are absolutely right, Zachary. That is part of what we will be reviewing. We want to make sure the HOA is serving the residents, not controlling them. If anyone has suggestions for governance improvements, please email them to the board. We are committed to making changes. The meeting wrapped up shortly after that. Several neighbors came up to me afterward to share their own Donna horror stories. Apparently, I was not the only one who had been on the receiving end of her petty tyranny. One woman told me that Donna had fined her $300 because her mailbox was the wrong shade of black. Another guy said Donna had threatened to put a lien on his house because he had planted flowers in his front yard that were not on the approved plant list. The more I heard, the more I realized that Donna had been a nightmare for a lot of people. Over the next few weeks, more details came out about Donna's crimes. The police investigation revealed that she had been stealing from storage units for at least 6 months, not 4. She had been selling the stolen property online and pocketing the cash. The total value of stolen goods was estimated at over $30,000. It turned out Donna had significant financial problems. Her husband had left her 2 years ago, and she was drowning in debt. She had been maintaining the appearance of wealth while secretly selling everything she could get her hands on. She was also charged with additional counts of fraud and embezzlement when investigators discovered she had been padding HOA expense reports and pocketing the difference. She had been systematically stealing from the HOA budget for over a year, taking money that was supposed to go toward maintenance and putting it in her own pocket. The total amount she had stolen from the HOA budget was around $15,000. Combined with the personal thefts, she was looking at serious prison time. Her lawyer tried to work out a plea deal, but the district attorney was not in a generous mood. Too many victims, too much money, and too much abuse of trust. The case went to trial 3 months later. I had to testify, describing what I had found when I discovered my storage unit had been broken into, and how Donna had lied to me about the cameras. The prosecutor showed the security footage of Donna cutting my lock and stealing my tools. The jury watched with obvious disgust. The trial lasted a week. In the end, the jury found Donna guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 4 years in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. She was also ordered to pay full restitution to all victims, including the HOA itself. I got a check for the full value of my stolen tools, plus compensation for the rental equipment I had to use while my property was being held as evidence. Between the insurance claim and the restitution payment, I actually came out slightly ahead financially, though that did not make up for the stress and violation of the whole experience. The HOA held its special election, and Harold was elected as the new president. True to his word, he implemented a series of governance reforms. The president no longer had unilateral authority over things like violation notices and fines. There was a new appeals process for residents who disagreed with HOA decisions. And most importantly, there were now term limits for board positions to prevent anyone from accumulating too much power. The changes made Riverside Estates a much more pleasant place to live. People were not constantly worried about arbitrary fines and violations anymore. The HOA started focusing on what it was supposed to do, maintaining common areas and organizing community events, rather than acting like a police state. About 6 months after Donna's sentencing, I was working on a project in my garage when Robert from the HOA office stopped by. He had retired from his position a few months earlier and was enjoying his newfound free time. "Zachary, I wanted to apologize again for what happened," he said. "I should have seen what Donna was doing." "Robert, you have apologized enough. It was not your fault. She fooled a lot of people." "I know, but still. I worked with her every day. I should have noticed the signs." "What signs were there to notice? She was careful. That is why she got away with it for so long." Robert sighed. "I guess you are right. Anyway, I wanted you to know that the new board is doing a great job. Harold is a good guy, and the changes he has made have really improved things." "I agree. It is like night and day compared to how things were under Donna." "Have you heard about her in prison?" Robert asked. "No, why would I? I heard through the grapevine that she is having a tough time. Apparently, she tried to take charge and organize the other inmates, but it did not go well. Turns out people do not like being bossed around in prison either." I could not help but laugh at the image of Donna trying to run a prison block like an HOA and getting shut down by inmates who had no patience for her nonsense. "Well, she has 4 years to figure out that the world does not revolve around her," I said. Robert chuckled. 4 years if she is lucky. I heard she might not make parole if she keeps causing trouble." After Robert left, I thought about everything that had happened. The whole experience had been infuriating and stressful, but it had also taught me some valuable lessons. I had learned to trust my instincts when something seemed off. I had learned the importance of documentation and keeping good records. And I had learned that sometimes the people who present themselves as pillars of the community are actually the ones you need to watch out for. But more than anything, I had learned about the importance of accountability. Donna had been able to do what she did because she operated without oversight. She had consolidated power and used it to bully people while committing crimes behind the scenes. The reforms that Harold and the new board implemented were designed to prevent that from ever happening again. I also developed a new appreciation for the good people who volunteer their time to serve on HOA boards. Harold and the other board members were not getting paid. They were giving up their evenings and weekends to make the community better. They had stepped up after Donna's betrayal and worked hard to restore trust. That took courage and dedication. A year after the whole incident, I was at the community pool with my girlfriend, Danielle Preston, who I had started dating a few months after the trial ended. We had met at a neighborhood barbecue that the new HOA board had organized. She had moved into Riverside Estates just before all the drama with Donna went down, so she had only experienced the good version of the HOA. "I still cannot believe your HOA president stole your tools," Danielle said, sipping her iced tea. "That is like something out of a movie." "Tell me about it. When it was happening, I kept thinking there had to be some mistake, but the security footage did not lie." "Do you ever worry about it happening again?" "Not really. The new security system is much better and we have regular audits now. Plus, everyone is more aware. I think people learn to speak up if something seems wrong instead of just assuming the HOA knows what it is doing." Danielle smiled. "That is good. This is a nice community. It would be a shame if something like that ruined it." It almost did. But Harold and the board did a good job of turning things around. As if summoned by his name, Harold walked over to where we were sitting. He had his 2 kids with him, both splashing around in the shallow end of the pool. "Zachary, Danielle, how are you 2 doing?" he asked. "Good, Harold." "How are things with the board?" "Busy but good. We are planning the community yard sale for next month. Are you going to participate?" "Probably. I have got some old equipment I need to get rid of." Harold grinned. "Just make sure you watch your stuff. We have had enough theft around here." We all laughed. It was nice to be able to joke about it now that enough time had passed. "Actually, I wanted to ask you something, Zachary," Harold said, his expression turning more serious. "The board is looking for a new treasurer. Our current treasurer is moving out of state for work. Would you be interested in the position?" I was surprised. "Me? I do not know anything about being an HOA treasurer. You run your own business, so you understand finances, and you have proven that you are willing to stand up for what is right, even when it is difficult. Those are the qualities we need on the board." I looked at Danielle, who shrugged. "It is up to you, but I think you would be good at it." "Can I think about it?" I asked Harold. "Of course. Just let me know by the end of the month. We need to fill the position before the current treasurer leaves." After Harold walked away, I sat there thinking about his offer. A year ago, I had hated the HOA and everything it stood for. But now, after seeing how much positive change was possible with good leadership, I was actually considering joining the board. "What are you thinking?" Danielle asked. "I am thinking that maybe HOAs are not all bad. They are only as good or bad as the people running them. And if good people do not step up, you end up with people like Donna in charge. So you are going to do it." "I think I am. It is only a 1-year term, and if I hate it, I can step down." "But Harold is right. I do care about this community, and I want to make sure we do not end up with another Donna." Danielle leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I think that is great. You will be good at it." 2 weeks later, I was officially appointed as the new HOA treasurer. My first board meeting was a little intimidating, but Harold and the other board members made me feel welcome. We reviewed the budget, discussed upcoming maintenance projects, and planned community events. It was nothing like the horror stories I had heard about HOA meetings under Donna's regime. Over the next few months, I settled into my role. I discovered that I actually enjoyed the work. It felt good to be contributing to the community in a meaningful way, and I made sure that our financial records were completely transparent. Every expense was documented and reported to the residents in our monthly newsletter. No more hidden charges or padded expense reports. We also used some of the money that Donna had been ordered to pay back in restitution to upgrade the storage unit area. We installed better locks on all the units and added more security cameras. We also implemented a system where residents could request security footage if they suspected any problems. No more gatekeeping by the president. The changes made a real difference. People started using the storage units again, and there was a renewed sense of trust in the HOA. Residents started attending board meetings and participating in community events. Riverside Estates felt like a real neighborhood again, not just a collection of houses ruled by an iron-fisted tyrant. One evening, about 18 months after Donna's sentencing, I was reviewing some HOA financial statements when I got an unexpected phone call. It was from a number I did not recognize, but I answered it anyway. "Hello, is this Zachary Irving?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Linda Mayers. I am calling from Women's Correctional Facility in Perryville. I am a counselor here, and I am working with inmate Donna Patterson. She has asked if you would be willing to visit her." I was silent for a moment, processing this request. Why would Donna want to see me? "Did she say why she wants to see me?" I asked. "She is working on taking accountability for her actions as part of her rehabilitation program. She wants to apologize to the people she hurt. I appreciate that, but I do not think seeing her would be helpful for either of us." "I understand. But I want you to know that Donna has been doing real work on herself. She is not the same person she was when she came in. If you change your mind, please call me at this number." Linda gave me her contact information, and I wrote it down, though I had no intention of using it. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about the conversation. A part of me was curious about what Donna would say. But a bigger part of me had moved on. I did not need her apology. I had gotten my tools back, received restitution, and watched her face justice. Going to visit her in prison would just be reopening old wounds. I told Danielle about the call that night over dinner. "You want to go see her?" she asked. "No, I have got nothing to say to her." "Are you sure? It sounds like she is trying to make amends." "Maybe she is. But I do not owe her forgiveness just because she is sorry now. She made her choices and she is paying the consequences. That is enough for me." Danielle nodded. "I think that is fair. You have to do what is right for you." I never did visit Donna in prison. According to Robert, who kept tabs on her situation through some mutual acquaintances, she did eventually complete her rehabilitation program and became a model prisoner. She was released after serving 3 years of her 4-year sentence, thanks to good behavior and early parole. I heard she moved out of state after her release, somewhere in New Mexico where nobody knew her history. I hoped she had learned her lesson and was living an honest life, but I did not dwell on it. She was part of my past, and I was focused on the future. My term as HOA treasurer turned into a second term when the board asked me to stay on. I agreed, and I was even elected as vice president. Harold remained president, and together we continued to implement positive changes in Riverside Estates. We started a community garden, organized regular neighborhood watch meetings, and even convinced the HOA board to relax some of the more ridiculous rules. The approved paint color list was expanded, the plant restrictions were loosened, and the penalties for minor violations were reduced to warnings for first-time offenses. The transformation of Riverside Estates became something of a local news story. A reporter from the Arizona Republic wrote an article about how our community had recovered from corruption and implemented progressive reforms. Harold and I were interviewed, and we talked about the importance of transparency and accountability in HOA governance. The article got picked up by some national news outlets, and suddenly, I was getting emails from people in other states asking for advice on how to reform their own HOAs. I started a blog sharing the lessons we had learned and the specific policies we had implemented. It became a side project that I genuinely enjoyed. 3 years after the whole incident with Donna, I was working on a construction project when I got a call from Officer Martinez. We had stayed in touch over the years, checking in every few months. "Zachary, I wanted to let you know that I am retiring next month," she said. "Congratulations. You have earned it." "Thanks. But before I go, I wanted to tell you that the Donna Patterson case ended up being one of the most satisfying collars of my career." "Really? Why is that?" "Because it actually led to change. Usually we catch the bad guys, they go to prison, and nothing really changes. But in your case, you and your HOA board used what happened as a catalyst to make real reforms. That is rare." "We were lucky to have good people step up," I said. "It was more than luck. It took courage and persistence. You could have just taken your restitution money and moved on, but instead you got involved and made sure it would not happen again. That matters." We talked for a few more minutes, reminiscing about the investigation and how surreal it had been to watch the security footage of an HOA president committing burglary. After we hung up, I felt a sense of closure that I had not realized I needed. The Donna Patterson saga had been one of the most stressful experiences of my life, but it had also led to positive changes that rippled through the entire community. Riverside Estates was now a model for good HOA governance, and I had found a sense of purpose in public service that I never expected. 5 years after the incident, Danielle and I got married in a ceremony at the Riverside Estates clubhouse. Harold officiated, having gotten ordained online specifically for the occasion. Most of the neighborhood attended, and it felt right to celebrate in the community that had become such an important part of my life. During his speech at the reception, Harold joked about how I had gone from being the guy who hated the HOA to being the vice president. Everyone laughed, but there was truth in his words. My perspective had changed completely. I had learned that institutions are not inherently good or bad. They are shaped by the people who run them and the people who hold them accountable. As I stood there with Danielle, surrounded by neighbors who had become friends, I thought about the journey that had started with a cut lock and missing tools. It had been frustrating and infuriating at the time, but it had ultimately led me to a better place. I had found a community, a purpose, and a partner. I had seen justice served and positive change implemented. And I had learned the most important lesson of all. Never underestimate the power of security cameras to catch an HOA Karen red-handed. The story of Donna Patterson became a cautionary tale in Riverside Estates, shared with new residents as an example of why transparency and accountability mattered. But it also became a story of redemption, not for Donna, but for the community itself. We had taken something ugly and corrupt and transformed it into something better. Years later, long after I had moved on from my position on the HOA board, I would still occasionally get emails from people who had read about our story. They would ask for advice on dealing with their own HOA problems, and I would always tell them the same thing. Document everything, trust your instincts, and do not be afraid to demand accountability from people in positions of power, because in the end, that was what had made the difference. I had trusted my instincts when Donna's story about the cameras did not add up. I had documented my stolen property with serial numbers and receipts, and I had demanded accountability when she tried to cover up her crimes. Those three principles had led to justice being served and a community being transformed. And they remained the foundation of good governance in Riverside Estates long after the Donna Patterson scandal had faded into neighborhood lore. The storage units at Riverside Estates never had another break-in after the security upgrades were implemented. The HOA budget remained transparent and well-managed, and the community thrived under leadership that prioritized service over control. It was not the ending I had expected when I first discovered my cut lock and missing tools on that hot Phoenix morning. But it was a better ending than I could have imagined, one that proved that even in the face of betrayal and corruption, good people working together could create lasting positive change. And sometimes, that was the best revenge of all.